rook for nothing. And also, of course, he wants to, to get the queen is a little bit better placed, moving to a3 than it is over there all the way up there in the corner at a6. Then I move my rook up, of course. Now what that does is it does a whole bunch of things. First of all, it prepares the eventual rook f8 and the triple, the getting the rooks on one file. It also protects the rook, in case it ever hangs to the rook on f1. It's protected by the pawn and it's protected by the queen. Also, it allows the rook to swing over to h6, which, as you'll see, became very important a little bit later on. So that move was an obvious move, but also I think a pretty good move at the time. He moves his pawn up to b3. Now, what he's planning is one of two things. I'm not sure which one. Either he's planning to move the bishop to b2 with tempo, because then the rook has to move out of the way, and the rooks link up. He's able to move the bishop in. Maybe he'd move the bishop to e5, and actually that wouldn't really help because the knight's protecting that square. But he could get the bishop involved, and also, of course, it links up the rook on the back rank. Or what could very possibly have thinking is he wanted to move the queen to a4 and hopefully trade off the queens. Obviously, what he wants to do right now is trade off material. He's up by a pawn, but he's in big trouble. He wants to get rid of my attack. So he's thinking about all these things, but then I thought for a moment, and I saw, and now the first thing that I was thinking in my mind is swing the rook over to h6. But if I swing the rook over to h6, I don't really have time to develop a massive attack, because if he moves the pawn to h3, I don't really see an obvious way to to continue. I obviously, the queen is the front piece. There's no question of sacrificing the queen, obviously. If it were a knight or something, maybe you take the pawn and sacrifice it, but you're not going to sacrifice the queen. And and if he managed to move the pawn to h3, so I realized that pawn to h3 probably was going to kill my attack for the time being. Maybe I would be able to maneuver the bishop and the queen in there to resuscitate the attack and get the rooks in. But while I was thinking about that, I saw, wait, hold on a second. I have a forced mate. I have a forced mate in 2. Do you see that? Do you see the forced mate in 2? Well, it's a pseudo-sacrifice over here. It's not a real sacrifice, but looks like a little bit of a sacrifice, and that, of course, is queen take h2, because of the placement of my bishop and my rook. And then, of course, he has only one move, and that's to take the queen, and then I simply swing the rook over to h6, and that's mate, because once I swing the rook over to h6, his only escape squares, g3 and g1, are covered by my bishop. And he saw that right away, and he resigned the game. So that is a game that I played a little while ago. If you have any comments, of course, you can leave it. Again, I'm not professing that this was a particularly great game or that I'm a particularly great player, but I thought, it was a relatively interesting blitz game. I hope you enjoyed it.